This is the Times Television Network, and you're watching ET Now.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Ivan Rodrigues, and on behalf of Dun & Bradstreet and DHFL, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this event that marks the release of the publication India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010. I'd like to take this opportunity to express our sincere gratitude and thanks to our partners. Title partner, DHFL. Principal partner, Credit Information Bureau India Limited. Insurance partners, LIC and the Oriental Insurance Company Limited. Investment partner, SMC Global Securities Limited. Associate partner, Delta Group. Beverage partner, White & McKay. Media partner, ET Now. I'd like to now introduce Mr. Ravi Saneja. Mr. Saneja is the Head Sales Economic Analysis Group, Dun & Bradstreet, India. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Ravi Saneja.
I am pleased to welcome you all today to the launch of the publication India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010. This is the third edition in the BFSI series. The banking and financial services sector, commonly referred as the BFSI domain, has played a key and a pivotal role in the economic growth story of our country through its notable contribution. In the domestic arena, the sector has proved its mettle through its sheer resilience, especially in the past couple of years, and has accounted for the robust growth. However, in the coming years, we have to understand, without undermining the pivotal role the BFSI sector has played, this sector is still in its nascent stage when it is compared with the other peers in the developed countries. Let me now quickly share with you few facts and figures about the publication that we are going to release tonight, India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010. The publication covers in all 253 companies which had an annual turnover of more than rupees 250 million. This particular 253 companies are broken into comprising of 70 banks, 30 equity broking houses, 88 NBFCs, 21 asset management companies, and 44 insurance companies. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker this evening, Mr. Arun Tukral. Mr. Tukral is the Managing Director, Credit Information Bureau, India Limited. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Arun Tukral.
In 2011 knocks with an optimistic note for the economy. Official statistics indicate that the economy has grown by 8.9% per last quarter, and forecasters have already started marking their estimates to 9%. At this cheerful juncture, it is my pleasure to be here for the launch of India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010, which I believe will provide us rich insights for planning our growth strategies going forward. To conclude, the current macroeconomic and financial environment is fast changing. We are operating in a dynamic and challenging external conditions which have a profound impact on the way we strategize and manage our businesses. While today we have abundant information and data available, logically harnessing the power of information to make confident decisions and further business growth holds the key to potential and profitability. Thank you.
An authority in banking who brings with him a rich treasure house of experience, knowledge, and insight. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. S.S. Tharapur.
I have had the privilege of being at this function for earlier years, and I'm delighted to be here again. Now, talking about the overall growth of the economy, in the context of the international financial crisis, we in India have come out relatively unscathed. Now, among the emerging market economies, India is the second fastest growing economy in the world. Now, much of the achievement is attributed to sound and timely policies which have protected India from the turmoil. But there is considerable euphoria, not without reason, of India overtaking China, that India is the country of the future. Now, if this is what we want to do, we have to have advanced planning to locate where we have problem areas and tackle those well in time. One last point. The global integration of the Indian financial system is going to be an inexorable march. Now, Indian banking has admittedly been unscathed by the recent global crisis. It doesn't mean that we will escape future crises. As we progressively integrate, we need to be prepared for the downside risks of integration. I'm not saying that one should not integrate. You have to, but you also have to recognize the problems there too. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, with that we come to the formal release of the publication India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010 from Dun & Bradstreet and DHFL, a publication we trust will provide a great platform to the profile BFSI companies to reach out to their key, current and potential clients and provide relevant information on the BFSI industry. I'd like to now call upon Mr. S.S. Tharapur to please do the honors. I'd also like to invite on stage at this moment Mr. Mudit Bhatnagar, Head Marketing and International Business, DHFL. Ladies and gentlemen, we present India's Leading BFSI Companies 2010 from Dun & Bradstreet in association with DHFL, unrivaled and unparalleled in the industry.
कुछ ऐसी ही है LIC की जीवन सरल पॉलिसी। मासिक प्रीमियम जो आप चाहे 250 गुना लाइफ कवर पाए, हर जरूरत पूरी हो जाए।
मुझे डबल कोला।
ब्लू हो या पिंक, पापा तुम तक कुछ भी हार्मफुल नहीं पहुंचने देंगे। स्टेन प्रूफ पेंट्स, ताकि तुम दोनों हर रोज एक नया मास्टरपीस बना सको। Come on.
ये तो पेंट की तरह स्मेल भी नहीं करता।
नेरोलैक पेश करते हैं इंप्रेशंस इको क्लीन, जो है बिल्कुल प्योर।
If someone helps you understand the subject, every subject is easy.
The Scholars Hub, tutoring Gen Next.
Good evening once again, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us for this panel discussion. And we hope you'll do justice to the topic at hand, which in the context of the fact that we are releasing India's top BFSI companies is especially relevant. Now, let's just give you a quick background. Financial Stability and Development Council, or FSDC for short, was first mentioned in the budget last year by the Finance Minister Pranab Mukherjee in order to really address the financial crisis which had hit all of us, in fact the entire global economy. And in this context, it was devised that this FSDC would be set up to really address the issue of financial stability. That was going to be one of its core focus areas. So that's a backdrop of the FSDC. Let's start off with the first question, and one which is being asked. Do we really need an FSDC, a body like the FSDC, in a country like India, which already many say is over-regulated, and is it just a backhanded way of the government really exerting greater control? Let me start off with you, Mr. Nikri. What are your thoughts on the matter?
What comes to my mind is, apart from the crisis, or the financial crisis, so to speak, is that, there are too many things. The finance minister has already spoken, even when Mr. Chidambaram was the finance minister, that we need to create Mumbai into a Shanghai. Of course, it calls for the infrastructure development also, it calls for quite a few other issues also. Yet, if that is to happen, if the interregulatory disputes, so to speak, where dispute might be a stronger word, but disagreements, different viewpoints are to be sorted out, I think we do need an entity which can really look into it. In what manner, what shape is something which we need to talk now.
Okay, so that's a yes. So clearly you pointed out many reasons. Jagannathan, do you agree?
In the world, we have examples for both situations, both that is a single regulator as well as multiple regulator. For example, if we see UK, they have a single regulatory structure in the form of Financial Service Authority. Whereas if we see US, we have a multiple regulatory system of running into each vertical has a different system. So, but if 2008 crisis proven that both of them failed, because the crisis is both UK and both US. That shows that it is not the question of single regulator or multiple regulators. It should be more a case of proper regulatory system and then effective implementation by the market participants, both by letter and spirit. It's not the number of regulators that make a difference, it's more of intent and the more of compliance standards. Still, I agree that new innovation kept on coming up. So as the new innovation keep coming up, these overlap areas keep increasing, no question about that. But having said that, having a one super regulator with a finance minister as the head, probably it will make Delhi as the financial capital, not the Bombay. Okay,
so that's a definite no. Mr. Dey, do you come somewhere in between?
To my mind, at this point in time, it's a halfway step. It's not really a super regulator as yet, in the sense that it does not really have a legislative power in terms of, writing regulations to supervise various financial institutions. So it remains to be seen whether this becomes a super regulator or not. And I would think that considering the increasing innovations as well as complexities in the financial and commercial world, it is important that there is a formal fora to get the regulators together to look at have a bird's eye view across the market.
So it will be an important meeting ground. So we've got three different aspects to it, and it's important to bring it into focus. Mr. Ratnam, now you're representing Dewan Housing Finance Corporation on the finance end, but if you look at real estate per se, you've been resisting regulators or any sort of regulator really coming in because you're saying, look, this industry doesn't need it. But here you have an FSDC which could ostensibly be looking at many areas of industry, including real estate. What's your reaction?
I think the origination of FSDC is pretty important, even from the regulatory perspective, real estate side as well, because there needs to be somebody that needs to look at the overall scheme of things and able to sort of regulate. In the event of whatever the real estate stability prices crash, that what happened in the US in terms of subprime prices, though that has not come up in an Indian context, but there's always a regulator, if the watchdog is always there. They'll be able to regulate you and then guide you accordingly as to what is to be done in terms of the high price inflations, and currently offtake is not there in the regular real estate point of view. So there should be a regulator.
Mr. Nandkishore, purely from a banking perspective, you have a fairly, RBI is considered to be really the king amongst the regulators, and it's been overseeing your industry fairly well. So when you have the FSDC and the prospect of perhaps more government intervention, is that how you react to it?
The stated objectives are financial stability, financial sector development, inclusion, and macro level supervision, policy supervision. But inter-regulatory coordination, I feel this is probably an extension of the high-level coordination committee. Somebody, I guess, will have, not that these are not happening, the stability, the financial sector development, inclusion, Probably somebody will have to, with finance minister chairing it, maybe somebody will have to review and monitor, because that is what probably doesn't happen, which happens regularly in our private sector. So who would be monitoring whether the stated objectives are being achieved or not? Will they be achieved in a better, accelerated manner than what is being achieved today? What probably the fears were, like the turf wars, which probably will get settled, because you mentioned a few turf wars. There are control issues. For example, FMC is now under